Hi, I'm Dan Weedin. Welcome to my weekly Weedin Unleashed, and I am doing this at a different location. As you can see, I don't have my normal stuff behind me. Captain Jack is not behind me. I'm actually on a different location. I am at the beautiful home of one of my clients who you're going to meet in just a few minutes because we're going to actually conduct a little interview, questions and answers for this live Weedin Unleashed. Before I get into that, just a couple of quick notes. Number one is I do this every week. Weedin Unleashed is a live broadcast done every week at noon Pacific time. What I will tell you is I'm not going to be able to do it next week. I'm going to be on a plane on my way to Washington, D.C. for a conference. So no Weedin Unleashed next week. We'll be back the following Monday. As you can see, I have the questions and answers up here, or the questions, I'm sorry, off to the side. You can put your questions and your comments. And like I said, in a little bit, I'm going to introduce my special guest today. You don't have to just hear me speaking. This is also going to be available. Some of you may be watching this after the fact, which I know happens quite a bit, on my YouTube channel, which is danweedin.tv. Today, we're going to talk about my extra points, which is what we normally do at these sessions. We're going to talk about my extra points where we talked about professional development, and it was called Who's the Boss? Some of you who are my age may remember the show Tony Danza had on Who's the Boss. That's not the case here. We're talking about you being the boss of your own professional development. My story was about speaking with somebody recently who was given the opportunity by me to have a professional development opportunity. They chose not to do it because they didn't have a budget for it, and the company wasn't providing. This was an under $100 thing. So my point to this person is, you are in charge of your own professional development. And unfortunately, in a lot of situations I've seen, people not take the next step in professional development because somebody else wasn't paying for it. And you know what? I'm guilty as charged. When I was an insurance agent for many, many years, all of my professional development that I took was paid by my employer. I didn't do very much on my own. It wasn't until I became a consultant that I took charge of my own professional development. And I've realized through the years that there are many out there who were doing the same thing I was, and in doing so, losing great opportunity to advance themselves. The best, and I mean the absolute best investment you can ever make is in yourself. And even if you have to take money out of your own pocket to invest in yourself, that might even be the best thing. By the way, I see we have at least one viewer in. Welcome. You have on the right-hand side, you can join in the discussion and bring up any questions and comments you have. As you consider doing that, this is the time that I would like to introduce my guest. This is a new client of mine, a client of mine who is on a new program called Unleashed Speaking. Raquel Lackey has a wonderful cause, which I'm going to give her a chance to talk about too, a wonderful cause that she speaks nationally on. She hired me to help her put together her program and help her be ready to go out and speak on a very important topic, one that's near and dear to her heart, but to do so in a way that is engaging to the audience. And we've been working on this for about the past 5 hours, not just today, but for the past 5 hours on a new program that I've got called Unleashed Speaking. And she took money out of her own pocket to invest in herself. And I thought she might be the best person to have a conversation with in talking about that. So it's my pleasure to introduce Raquel Lackey. Raquel, say hi to everybody.
Hello.
Raquel, just a couple of questions. Do you mind if you play guinea pig and answer a few questions for me? Tell me why you thought it was important to take money out of your own hard-earned cash to invest in yourself in this particular situation.
It was really important for me because I've been able to been asked to speak nationally, like you said, about animal-assisted crisis response. And I know when I personally go to conferences, I want the presenter to be dynamic. And it's something that I struggle with, speaking in front of people. And so I wanted to feel more comfortable and be able to provide them with the best presentation I possibly could.
So why is it that you chose to, a lot of times people will just maybe take a course online or do some reading. What was it about doing a program like this, which isn't inexpensive? I'll just say that it's not inexpensive. I hope to get a return on investment, but why was it so important to take something that was a little bit more of a time and financial investment to help you with it?
Well, I chose you.
Thank you.
Particularly because we've worked together in the past, and that you give homework. That's tactical steps that I can see myself improving on. And then, as painful as it is, you hold me accountable to those to get better.
One of the things, it's funny that she used that term painful. It's not that painful, but you know what? It's hard. There's homework and there's things involved. The thing that Raquel has done is she said, look, I think I lack in an area and I want to make sure that it's really good. So she said, I'm willing to invest my own personal finances into making myself better. Now, this is her own deal, and so she didn't have necessarily anybody else to go to, but she used her own income, her own personal revenue to do that. And that's the one thing that I really want to make sure that all of you who are watching this realize that it doesn't have to necessarily be me. There are opportunities you have in your own industries, in your own careers, where you can reach out to experts to get help, to move on into an area that maybe makes you feel uncomfortable. Raquel, is that part of it? Is that, if you're doing this on your own, you might not force yourself to be uncomfortable. Is this part of the process to have somebody else, in this case me, have somebody else push you into those uncomfortable zones?
Yeah, I think so. And also, if it's just me, I don't have that feedback. I can't really talk to myself. I don't see how I present. And to have that opportunity to learn from someone who speaks on a regular basis, such as you, to provide more education on how I can instill little tricks along the way to make presentations better, and it would be nicer for the audience.
So here's what we're going to do. This is actually part of Raquel's not homework. This is part of her exercise today. I want her to tell all of you, and we've got a couple of viewers. You see that? We've got people actually watching us. I want her to tell you a little bit about her passion and what she's going to be speaking on. So she's going to get a chance to answer, to practice her Q&A for that. So Raquel, tell the audience here a little bit about the program you're going to be speaking on and why you're passionate about it. And you can be looking at them right here. You see that?
I'm going to be speaking on animal-assisted crisis response. And so we have teams that are specially trained to go to traumatic places that are chaotic and provide comfort. It's entirely free. We train 24/7, 365 days a year, so that we can be implemented and professional and provide help.
Well, Raquel, can you give me an example of a situation or maybe a couple situations in the last year where your teams have gone out and helped people?
Absolutely. We've been really busy in the Pacific Northwest this past year. We had a big mudslide out here called Oso. We spent 45 days out there every single day providing help to first responders and non-traditional first responders, in addition to the communities that were impacted by that mudslide. After that, we went to Seattle Pacific University after a campus shooting. That was on June 5th. Following that, we were at Marysville High School working with students and staff for 30 days to help them process the school shooting that they had as well. I think they did an excellent job. Raquel,
can you give me one story? Do you have one story that you can share with these folks maybe one that we've been working on here that you can share with everybody about and really help frame what it is that the dogs do?
The first story that pops into my mind when people ask me that question is I was in Darrington in June last year with my chocolate lab Bungie, and a woman walked into the community center, and she was not responsive and becoming very frantic. I noticed as Red Cross mental health people went up to try to help her, she couldn't communicate. She locked eyes onto my chocolate lab Bungie and slowly sank to the floor when she got to him and began weeping. She was weeping and petting him and just touching him all over for about a good 2 minutes before she was able to form words. And once she was able to form words, she was able to tell us she was worried about where her children are, and they were merely been playing in the parking lot a few minutes before. So it was a very good example of how the dogs bring us to the front of our brain to help us process what we've been through, and that the dogs are a bridge to pull us out of isolation after we've had a traumatic experience.
Here's the good news for her. This is all being recorded, so she might go back, because that was a wonderful, wonderful story, and some of the language she used was ideal. So here's the thing. This is your opportunity. If you have a chance, you should be seeing the questions and answers. I hope it's there this time. We've had good luck with that recently. If you have a chance to ask a question for either me or for Raquel, specifically regarding maybe, she'd probably take a question on the dogs, but the professional development opportunities, now's your chance, because I'm going to ask her one other question. Raquel also has another job. She works as an executive for a company. And I guess the thing I would ask you is, as an executive with people who work underneath you within your office structure, if you had people who were investing in themselves, even outside of the company paying for that, what does that do for the advancement and the growth and the culture of an organization? You've worked as a CFO for quite a while in different places. How does professional growth within the employees help?
I see that it helps with morale.
Okay.
And morale within that person, which to me, enthusiasm is contagious.
Mm-hmm.
And once your morale is positive, it spreads like wildfire, and others want to know what you've done to get that different perspective and expand your knowledge base. It just gives them another tool.
Cool. Thank you. Look, we've got that's a great story. Is there a URL for the services Raquel provides? I'm going to make her tell you that, and then what I'm going to do is, on the recording of this, I will include that URL so you can go directly to it. Raquel, why don't you share where people, if somebody's watching this, and if they, by the way, share this with people you might know. Raquel is talking to a group, specifically, I think the one we've been working on is for the education community. Unfortunately, last year, she's had 2 places to go. One was a college campus, Seattle Pacific University. The other was Marysville-Pilchuck High School. Even those outside of this area have heard of those, unfortunately, through CNN and some of the other major networks that covered it. But if you know of anybody in school districts, again, this is a free service. So Raquel, how can they reach you?
We have a website. It's www.hope-aacr.org. So www.hope-aacr.org.
And what I'll do is I'll include that. If you're watching this at a later date on YouTube, you'll see it, but I'll include that link. So anyway, we've been kind of waxing poetic here about 15 minutes. If anybody has any questions specifically for Raquel or for me, or any comments, just like what Dave did, this is your opportunity to do that. Just some final thoughts. I guess I'll just ask one final question on the professional development, because I thought it was so handy that I was going to be here today and talk to her, and it marries up with exactly what I talked about in Extra Points today. The importance of being able to say, look, even though this may be both a financial and also a time commitment, it's important. And maybe I guess from your experience with this, what is the biggest thing that you've gotten out of this experience so far, specifically related to the professional development that you've received for your speaking?
Personally, I think it's to slow down, and that success is not perfection, because we're not perfect people. Nobody's perfect. And I found when I slow my speaking, I'm able to actually listen to the person when they're talking instead of formulating my answer.
Okay, great. There you have it. She's gonna be great, isn't she? So bottom line is, and again, this is your chance, because we're gonna close this up here in just a little bit. We're gonna finalize what we've been working on. Bottom line is, you are responsible. You're the boss of your own professional development, not your employer. And so I know all of those in the consulting field, we get that because we're our own employer and that's how we do it. But regardless, if you believe that there is a program or a resource or a benefit that can help you improve personally, professionally, whatever it is, take advantage of it. You are the best investment you can make in yourself. Remember, I'm not going to be here next week. Maybe I'll shoot something from our nation's capital and put it on YouTube and send it out to everybody. But 2 weeks from today, I'll be back with Weedin Unleashed. Raquel, thank you very much for joining us here today. I'll make sure that everybody gets the URL. That's it for today. I will see you in 2 weeks for the next live edition of Weedin Unleashed. Ciao.